Another week, more snow here in Rhode Island, and also, since it's no longer Valentine's Day, had to erase the naked baby Cupid. Instead, got this little leprechaun here for St. Patrick's Day, and I guess you can assume he's naked because I didn't draw a body. Didn't want to get too graphic with this little guy, only because leprechauns are small as is, and there's probably not a lot to draw. But he's still got a little winky face for you, so he's got a little something. That beard sure can tickle. Now, being that it is snowing out, I decided to go ahead and just hoof it to the gym. The roads are pretty bad, and even though I have an all-wheel drive car, I thought I could get in some little pre-workout cardio. In fact, ran across this guy in a sled who wanted some help, so I decided to do this because this is a great warm-up for your hamstrings. And some other leg mobility work here, loosen up those hips, running through snow. It's one of those things that I just like to do, again, just to get loose. And I know what you're probably thinking. Rhode Island is awfully surprising. In fact, it might look a little bit like Soviet Russia now. Don't let that fool you. We still have mountains here in Rhode Island. In fact, scaling this one on the way to the gym, it made me feel pretty special, and I wanted to take a second to just sit right back and take it all in. Be a good Instagram picture, don't you think? But upon getting to the top of the mountain, I realized I was nowhere near my gym and I'd gone done fucked up, so I had to get on moving. Now, I did eventually make it to the gym, luckily enough, so you get to watch me prep my meat. You're welcome. All right, so back in the gym Monday, you know that is deadlift day. Now I just finished off the second phase, so this is the beginning of my third phase, and this is probably a step back in a little bit. So we ramped up, and now we're taking a step back, and we're starting the day with a speed day workout. That's how all of these phases work. It starts with speed deadlifts, so 8 sets of 3 at 355. Now, initially the program called for 350, and normally I don't change the weights unless it's one of those strength training days, but that being the case, I just thought it made more sense just to put on 2 10s per side rather than have a 10, a 5, and then a 2.5. So just to save some space, and it's not anything overly heavy. Number one, I already mentioned, this is kind of a step back in the percentage of weight we're using, as well as on these speed days, we're only really using like 60% already as is. So I didn't really have an issue with this. Now, one of the interesting things was I forgot to bring my SBD knee sleeves, which I almost always wear on my legs and my shins when I'm deadlifting. I instead had my slingshot sleeves from Mark Bell because I wanted to use these. I like to kind of mix up some of the equipment I use. However, these make me look a little bit ridiculous. And that's a lot coming from me because I usually look ridiculous and I don't really have a problem with it. But if I'm telling you I look ridiculous, then you know I really do look ridiculous. But anyways, past that fact, one of the other things I'll point out here is I'm not using a belt. And again, traditionally on speed work for deads, or even for squats, if I don't really feel I need to use my belt, I won't. I traditionally only really slap it on my heavier sets, or if it's like my second or third exercise of the day. You actually see that a little bit later on because after these 8 sets of 355 for deadlifts, instead of doing a main deadlift accessory, what I decided to do is go ahead and just jump right into squats. Now, again, I'm a big fan of doing squats on my deadlift days. It kind of lets me get a little bit better depth because I'm already so warmed up, not to mention it lets me increase my overall frequency and add to the volume that I'm doing for legs each week. The first time I ran this program through, I wouldn't do squats necessarily 2 times a week every week, but on this phase of the program, I should say this running of the program, this second 12 weeks I've been doing it a lot more, and I feel a lot more comfortable. Now in this case too, another interesting thing to point out is I am wearing my Adidas Powerlift trainers, which I have not worn in a very long time. It's actually because a comment of Michael Gorazzo, who is a rum competitor, who has a great channel. I'll link that in the description box below, but he was mentioning after one of my other videos that maybe he'll go ahead and invest in some of these trainers only because the heel on these, I believe, are 0.6 inches, whereas my other Olympic shoes are 3/4 of an inch, so just a little bit less. But you guys know I've been kind of having an internal debate about if I want to wear flat shoes or if I want to wear my Olympic shoes, and it got me to thinking, I have these sitting in my closet, why not go ahead and break them out? And overall, squats felt okay for the most part. Again, I'm not really going anything overly heavy here with 315. One of the things that I've been noticing a little bit is on my second squat day, which is my main squat day, which is every Thursday, I've been feeling a little fatigued because I've really been pushing myself on these days. So after heavy deads, I'll work up to, over 400 pounds on squats, and I think I probably should step that back and focus on really doing all that heavy work or whatever work is required for the week on that Thursday like it should be. So still making changes, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't released this program yet. As I try to say in most videos, once I'm done with my meet, I usually take like an off week or a deload week. I'm going to try to go ahead and make some of the changes that I found for this particular 12 weeks of the cycle before I release it. But then I will, and it's going to be free. I get that question a lot, how much it's going to cost. It can be available. I'll just probably find somewhere where I can upload a spreadsheet too, so you can input your numbers, as well as maybe a PDF to go along with it, just so I can share some feels with you. I just talked over that last exercise. I did some Romanian deadlifts again. Just wanted to work on my hamstrings. Kept it fairly light, 225, did 3 sets of, I believe, 8 on that, before finally moving on to some weighted chin-ups. And for these, I really tried to make sure I got a full range of motion, so all the way up and all the way down. That's why you see some pauses here more towards at the end. Just want to make sure that I'm really getting it in, and that really wraps up the workout for the day, and that's going to bring us on to the next day, which was my bench day. And my friends, everybody loves bench day. So on bench day, this is considered a rep day. So after my speed days, I always have a rep day, and it called for 3 sets of 8 at 250 with a pause. So my first bench day, which is Tuesday, always do pause work. And what I've been doing on my second bench day on Fridays is touch and go. It's been a really interesting dynamic, and I've been seeing some great progress in my bench, as noted by, in fact, this work you're seeing here. And I say that because when I set my max numbers at the start of this training block, what I did is I used my max for touch and go. Now, this being pause, which I'm significantly worse at by about 15 to 20 pounds, some of these things should be fairly stressful, but again, that's where the training max comes into play as well. So I use a 95% training max, in this case of being 350. And overall, towards the third set here, it got a little bit tough, but nothing I couldn't necessarily handle. So this has felt really good. And on these last couple of weeks that I've been doing, and just since I started this particular branch of programming going a couple months back now, my bench has seen some great progress when it hadn't in years. So I really had stalled out. So I'm really liking my progress, and I'm happy with how I'm going on these. And speaking of that, I might as well address some stuff I get on every bench video, despite the fact that I've talked about it several times. I do not have a good arch. I cannot arch any more than what you're seeing here, which you probably can't even see much as it is. As part of that, I find sitting in a desk most of the day has really screwed up my legs, and being able to open my hips, never really had good flexibility there. So I'm not able to generate much leg drive either. Add on to the fact that I'm not arching much, it's pretty tough. That's one of the reasons why I throw those bands on the bench. Number one, it emulates more of a competition style bench, and as well, it lets me get a little bit more leg drive than I would traditionally. So moving on to close grip, I kept the weight the same, but I wanted to show you my normal setup. So pinkies on the rings, you can see about have 1.5 inches from the knurling. When I do close grip, I put my thumbs on the knurling to start, and when I have a grip, that again puts them about 1.5 inches away from the ring. So this is as close as I've been going. Again, one of the things that I've really been trying to do on this program is not stray too much from the main lifts on my accessory or assistance exercises. So again, I'm not using any overly big deficit or block pulls, or if I go wide or close grip on any of these pressing movements, it's only a little bit. So just the tip, just enough. And again, I've been finding that's worked really well for me. Now, since I'd already gotten a lot of volume in, so 3 sets of 8 with 250 on normal, and then 4 sets of 8 with 250 on close grip, I decided to go a little bit heavier. So I did a 110-pound incline dumbbell press for 3 sets of 5, just to get some heavier weights in. And that really kicked my ass considering what I'd already done in the program. Finally, to finish things off, you guys should be getting used to this by now with just like a bodybuilding style movement. So some rope press downs. I don't care about the weight here, just really use whatever feels heavy for the most part. And that was the workout. So as always, if you want more, follow me in Photocracy. I log all my stuff there. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching my meet prep, and we'll talk to you guys soon. I'm wearing my Olympic shoes, and it looks all right. Also, I figured I'd throw this in at the end of the video because I didn't want to make a big deal about it, but Forged Iron Training, the people that always do my shirts and do a great job with any of the other shirts they do, like the Pop-Tarts, the pre-workout shirt, they've actually gone through a rebranding. They're now known as Conquering Barbell, and as part of that relaunch, we're doing a very limited supply of these Campbell Fitness logo shirts on a tri-blend material. They're blue. I say very limited supply because we actually put these up the other night, and I just shared on social media, so Facebook and Instagram, and we're pretty much already sold out. We have a couple of double XLs left, a handful of XLs, but that's it. So if you want to get one, I'll leave that in the description box below as well. And I can't normally say that about shirts or discount codes, so I feel a little bit special, like I am in fact a normal YouTuber now. So if you're interested, great. If not, I'll go fuck myself.